How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode here. So, you know what? This is BeyerLureCo, and we haven't made a lure in quite some time. So, today we are working on a bluegill 3-piece Swimbait. Alright, so here we have our Swimbait, and we're going to make it into 3, that is, trace pieces. And so, bust out our little ruler here, and we're gonna mark off some spaces. So it's gonna be about a 4-inch bait. So 4 inches. Let's get our scale here. Let's see how much it weighs. Right meow. On there. So right now it weighs a little more than half an ounce. So that's perfect. I think by the time we add weight and everything, you should still be able to throw it, I should still be able to throw it on the setups that I have. Okay, so I have these marked out 1.5 inches, because when you divide 4 inches by 3, you get 1 1/3. So I was like, we'll do 1.5. The tail will be a little touch shorter, and I think that will be great. So we'll take a straight line, and we're going to mark these out. Alright, beautiful. Now the next step that I want to do is I just got to sand all of this edges smooth, and I like doing that before I am going to chamfer the edges, because I want to do the least amount of stuff that I need to on this bait. Like, I don't want to take off too much material, because I just kind of want it straight and just everything even. And I think that'll give it a good action through the water. And honestly, sanding is my favorite way to... Let me stop and talk. So sanding is probably my favorite way to remove material off of, making a lure, because, if you start carving and it's like, oh, I took too much off this side, it's like, I gotta take more off that side, and then you're just like trying to get it even. With sanding, I feel like it's a lot more precise. I can really eyeball things, get them, darn near perfect to what they need to be. So we're just gonna sand away for a little bit here. Just smooth all of this out, get it nice and flat, and we're going to draw lines around to get the chamfering done. I had a quick change of heart with this. So I was like, oh, I'm going to chamfer these edges, which basically is just smoothing them out, cutting them, smoothing them out. But I had a change of heart, because I don't have a lot of material width-wise, and that's what I wanted. I didn't want a thick bait. I wanted this a little thinner, so cut the weight down a bit. So what I'm thinking is I'm just going to take sandpaper, and I'm just going to round over the edges, and we're just going to call it good that way. So I'm going to keep sanding away on this thing, and I'll see you guys when I'm done. It's a little trick that I learned from marling baits, just putting it in your vise and then getting a strip of sandpaper and just going like that over it gets it. Whoa! Just gets it real nice and even with everything, so you don't have to worry about one edge or the other. And I don't super worry about that marking it up either, because I'm gonna I can sand those out pretty easily without taking off much material. But yeah, we're just gonna keep on sanding away on everything. Alright, y'all, we sanded. And we sanded. And you know what? We sanded some more, so now we got this nice shape. It's pretty, I think it's pretty even. Just me eyeballing it right now. It's pretty even looking. So that's what's important for making, you know, any lure, because if it's off on one side or the other, it'll want to tend to go to that side and you won't get the action that you want. So right now it's looking pretty good. Next step that I want to do is I want to cut out it into 3 pieces. So I gotta redo my lines a little bit from the sanding, but I'll redo those and we'll do a little cutting. Alright y'all, so now we got this cut out. So honestly it needs a little sanding, but one thing that I like to do just to make sure that I'm keeping track of, you know, what goes where, is I like to take my little pencil and indicate which side is up. I mean, it's like, for this bait, it's kind of like clear how it's supposed to be oriented. But with some baits where, you know, it's very symmetrical and everything, I feel like that's like a handy little thing. It's like, so this is the top side of everything. At least that's how I like to think of it. So I gotta sand these edges down and everything. So we're gonna hop right into that. I want this sandpaper. So as you can tell, I did not cut it quite evenly, but that's something we can take care of. And I'm sorry if there's like any noise. It's just I'm outside, and that's the air conditioning unit just kicking on. So okay. So we got this all sanded down, good to go. Now like literally comes like my least favorite part of this whole process. We gotta drill some holes for some stuff, for some hardware, y'all. So I'm gonna do this off camera just because I want it to be as precise as I can. So I'm gonna do this off camera. I am sorry, but we will be back in a sec. Alright, so we eyeballed this one, and that's maybe a little bit off. Maybe a little bit off. Ugh. See, this is the worst part. And we drilled this one, and that one is also a little bit off. Man, I just like, I feel like I always like have these dead on, and then I start doing it, and then nope. So I'm gonna mark some holes for this one. This is where the joint is gonna be, so I want them, probably the first one right there, and right there. That looks pretty equal. Alright, we got these drilled out. Those look pretty good. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to make some twist wires for the hardware. So get this in frame. There we go. So in this, I have some wire shucked up. And then all you do is you put that on there. Let me move this aside. And a little bit more. Sorry. So we have that all shucked up, and then all you do is just drill it out, basically. So let's see if I can get a good one while filming. You know, there's a lot of moving parts to this, you know, YouTube and business, so just give her a whirl. Alright, now that we got the twist wire here made, we are going to super glue it up and put it right in there. And then we're going to let that dry for a bit. Alright. I kind of want it this way. I kind of want the line tie situated like horizontally. So right now I'm just trying to get it even. So get it straight, which it's looking pretty darn straight. And then we're gonna let this dry. We're gonna make some more twist wires and keep putting them in. Then our next step is we are going to put a clear coat, kind of like a clear coat. I'll show you a little hack that I have. So just in case any of y'all are curious, I'm using 19 gauge wire and just this super glue that I picked up at Walmart. So, and I'm not sure what size Allen wrench head that is, but I'm actually going to size down to do the joints. But we got that super glued in. So if y'all are wondering, it's like, oh, like I'm worried about just super gluing. So with that twist wire and that super glue getting all of that and it curing and like getting glued in there, that's a lot of holding power with that being super glued in there. Now, can you epoxy these in? Yes, and I've done it before. Super glue's a lot easier. It dries out a lot. It dries a lot faster, and it's a lot more convenient. Now, if you're going for like saltwater species or want to make something like that, I'd probably use epoxy for stuff like that. With this though, if you want to see how strong that just super gluing a line tie in, there's this YouTuber called The Engineered Angler, and he makes fishing lures, goes fishing, and he does a pull-out test to see how much force it takes to pull one of these out. And honestly, it's ridiculous for the super glue. It's even more ridiculous for the epoxy. But you're not going to have a problem with most freshwater species are not going to pull this line tie out with just super glue. And like my line ties are fairly long too, so that's even more holding power. So I'm actually going to size down and do the twist wires for the joints. So let me get this all switched around and I'll join back with us here. Alright, so to make a joint twist tire, so what you do is you have your one that you all twisted up and you just thread the other one through and you chuck this up in your drill and you put it over like that and let her rip, potato chip. So I'll show you once we're done. Okay, so the last thing that I'd like to show y'all tonight is how to seal this wood, how I like to do it. Just a quick little easy way to do this. So I just take super glue and we're just gonna super glue the heck out of this. So like the super glue, you put a generous amount on, and so this super glue, what it actually does is seeps into the pores of that wood and it's gonna seal it. So we're gonna put a good generous amount on. There's no good way to do this besides I just use my finger. And I make sure that every piece is getting covered. Downside of this, your finger is going to be just kind of, you know, all filled with that super glue stuff. So I don't recommend doing this if you have any open cuts or anything like that on your finger. So like, it doesn't have to be like that great, honestly, because we're going to go over once this dries and we're going to sand this. So we're actually going to take this and just going to let it dry right on there. Oh. Oh no. Oh no. Now it stuck to me. Okay, let's get it dangling a little more. Let's move it away a bit. There we go. So we're gonna let that dry. Honestly, that is I'm gonna do the tail next, but honestly that's what we're gonna finish with tonight, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for doing the next part because this has to dry. Hey, it is the next day. So where we left off, we set these up with super glue and we sealed them, and when you do that, like, don't worry about these holes getting filled. Generally you're gonna ream them out a little bit anyway. So this next step that we have to do once we have that sealed is you're just gonna grab my finer grit sandpaper, and we're just gonna sand that down because the finish like isn't like super smooth, nice. You know, we just kind of globbed it on there and spread it out. So it's gonna get it a little smoother and just sand a bit of it away. Next comes probably, so we have this all sanded smooth and everything. So next probably comes one of the worst parts of this whole thing, in my opinion, just because, you know, I'm just using hand tools. I don't have a drill press or a lead pot yet. I don't know if they'd let me have a big stand-up drill press in my studio. That'd be pretty dope. But I'm gonna drill a lead hole here, and I got those drilled out for the joints, and I made the joints for that, and then have super glue on that. So I'm letting that dry, gotta sand it, drill a lead hole for that, and put lead in it. So that's our next step. So I'll drill off camera, but then I'll show you like what I do to put lead in the bait. Well, we did it without getting too much breakage there, but I'm not too worried about that because honestly, got another trick up my sleeve for that. But basically, here's what I did. I just started stepping up with the bits. So did a smaller one, got a little bigger, and you know what? It's pretty dead on. So let's put some lead in this, and I'll show you what I do for that. It's nothing fancy. Literally I just have these lead weights here, and I just trim them up with my tin snips and just glue them right in. And then we're going to take a little baking soda and super glue. And what's crazy is, so I seen this on Marlon Bates' channel too. This is his like all-time favorite thing is super glue baking soda. And after he puts his lead weights in, you put a layer of baking soda down, and then you drip super glue onto that, and it makes it like rock hard. Alright, so I literally did not have to cut that down at all, so I'm actually just gonna fill this up with some super glue and get it all in there, because like, look how perfect. So this is a 1/8 size bullet shaped split shot. So honestly, these are kind of weird. I never use these, but they work good for this. So honestly, I'm just gonna push that down in there, and look at that. And I'm gonna put a little glue on top. And I'm gonna go get the baking soda, and we're gonna cover this, do super glue again, and then we'll sand it flush, and I'll show you guys all that. Alright, so I watched back like my clips from last night, and I was like, it's like I start every one when I start it with alright, so maybe I need to switch it up. Oh hey there, oh what's up? Oh, didn't see you there. So I mean, this looks bad, but I swear it's just baking soda from Hy-Vee. If you know, you know. But anyway, so you could save your sawdust, and I've done that before on the DIY cork frog lure. I just saved the sawdust from the cork, and I used that instead of baking soda. But this works really well. Oh, and a bunch got down in that crack. I want to redo this. I'm gonna put down a layer of super glue first, because this stuff like dries on contact with the baking soda, and it makes it super hard, and you can sand it away, and you guys will be able to see that in a second here. And it is almost flush. I think I'm gonna do one more layer of glue and then a layer of baking soda. What works really well for this is if you have like super thin super glue, and then you drop it down onto it instead of, you know, right on it. Honestly, that works a lot better, since this stuff does like dry on contact basically, and just like makes it rock hard. See, look, you got like little chunks already because of it dries on contact. So honestly, that's all dry already, so set aside that stuff. We're gonna grab our sandpaper. You know, there's a theme to these videos. There's just a lot of sanding. But if you've made it this far, thanks for bearing with me. We're getting closer. We're nearing the end. Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. Let's get the heavier sandpaper. So honestly, if y'all have made it to this point, you're a real unit, and I would really appreciate you subscribing to the channel. That would be clutch. Hit that bell icon if you feel so inclined, then you'll know exactly when I upload videos. I'm not on a super consistent schedule. I do a video once a week towards the beginning of the week, and if I feel so inclined, I do a video at the end of the week as well, if I have time. Honestly, I'm pretty busy. I work about 50 to 70 hours a week at my job, but honestly, I love creating these videos. I love doing them for you guys, and so I'd really appreciate if you support me by clicking subscribe, sharing this with a friend. Sharing it with 2 friends is even better. Like the video, drop a comment down below. Honestly, that is the most nerve-wracking thing ever, but hey, it is centered. It is good to go. And like a glove, I'm just gonna push this down a little bit more, and I'm just gonna super glue it in like that. Alright, so we got that glued in. We got this super glue and baking soda in as well. And honestly, there must be some kind of chemical reaction that happens between the super glue and the baking soda to make it harden and solidify like that. And honestly, there is a chemical reaction because I felt one part of that. So I just like tried brushing some stuff off, and it was hot. Like not like burn you hot, but it was noticeably warm. So maybe it's good that we're doing this outside, you know, so we're not potentially breathing in any hazardous materials. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are nearing the finish line here. Honestly, we will be able to see what it looks like. We will put in our joints. We won't glue them in yet, but we'll put them in. And oh, actually, we have one more hook hanger to do, and then we will be done. But let me... oh, finger looks gnarly from that super glue. Anyway, let me get these joints all in, and I'll show you what it looks like. Oh, got a visitor. Hi, friend. That is a brown anole. A brown anole, and they also happen to be an invasive species down here. But we love all animals. We love all of God's creatures. And he is now Timmy. Hi, friend. Well, y'all, our friend Timmy is still hanging out with us this evening, but let's go ahead and show this. I got the joints in and everything, so oh, look at that B word. Oh my S word. Holy A word. Anyway, so I did go ahead and I put a hook hanger here, but what I did so this hook hanger would not interfere, like if I just drilled straight up, you know, it's gonna run into these joints. So what I did is I drilled it at an angle this way, so that way it's not gonna, it has a lot of wood to bite into, a lot of wood to grip with that super glue, and it's not going to interfere with the joints. Sure, I do go through the lead, but honestly that's not a big deal at all. In fact, that's probably even better. So there she is. She is all put together and saucy looking. If you've been with this channel, you know that painting is definitely not my strong suit. So honestly, we're just gonna do the best that we can. We're gonna try to do something a little unconventional for painting, but you know, hopefully we can turn out something cool. So I really want an airbrush. I think an airbrush would, you know, just practicing on that, and I feel like that I could definitely take my painting to the next level with things. So, you know, I'm not a fan of, you know, just this. I mean, you can get stuff to look good, and I have before. It's just, I think I'd prefer an airbrush. I think you get more of a professional quality look, and that's what I would really like to end up having. So, steady. So if y'all watched the DIY frog lure, we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna splash on, or in this case blow on the paint. I think it leaves a really cool pattern, and you know, we're just gonna see what happens. I'm not the best at painting, like I said, but we're gonna make it happen. Okay, everybody, the paint has dried, and now for the unveil. Da da da! Wow, wow, wow! Look at that! I think it turned out pretty darn neat. So, all that I have to do is clear coat this. I use 15-minute epoxy, and I use a foam brush to spread that out. Let that set up for 24 hours, and I'll probably put an additional coat over it, and then it just needs hooks. But for now, I'm gonna save testing this out and everything for another video with more homemade lures. So I hope you will stay tuned until then. I hope you enjoyed this build, and I will see you for the next one.